I'm Lynn Sumida, president of Miruspoint, and I'm talking to Toni Pieroni, clinical counselor, and her client, Deb Wetmore. And so, Toni, about how long have you been working with Deb, would you say?
Let's see, it's about 7 to 8 months. Yeah, close. Yeah.
Great. And so you mentioned the weekend program to her, and so what prompted you to think that that might be a fit for Deb?
Well, my recollection is that you were feeling pretty stuck. And we were, trying a variety of different approaches and to really help her be able to move forward in her life and, kind of move out of this stuck place. And so I thought, since I know about the process, I thought that this would be very helpful to her, as well as being in a group setting sometimes can exponentially offer things that I can't provide in individual counseling. So I thought the combination of both the process itself as well as a group context might help unstick.
Yeah. Light a fire.
Yeah. So Deb, what was your very first thought when Toni suggested that?
I had two thoughts, and they were different ends of the spectrum. Yes, because I really want to get, as we say, unstuck. And then the thought of, what if it doesn't work? Now what do I do? Where do I go? How do I move forward? Yeah.
And so, could you just say a few words about, what you felt you were stuck around? How would you?
I think I lived in the past, lived in the victim mode, and I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't own it and have boundaries. That's a big issue that we've come through with, and I didn't know what the weekend was going to involve, really, and it took time for that evolution to occur. Yeah.
Toni, when you think of it from your perspective, is there anything you'd like to add in terms of how you saw Deb being stuck?
Well, my experience of you, Deb, was I think you were really scared about moving forward. And so, I think there was a way in which there seemed to be more, it seemed safer, even though it was unpleasant, to keep looking back to the past than to really look ahead at now where your life needs to go from here and being on your own now. And so there was a lot of fear. And
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I've learned that over time. Yeah. And yet, when I look back, it's very easy to see how clear it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Good. So now, in terms of what you got out of the weekend, when you reflect on that piece around fear, many people, I think, will wonder, well, how does that get addressed in a group setting? What was that like? What would you care to say on that?
I really have a tough one with that, because it wasn't one, distinctive moment. It was scary to be in a group, yet we were divided into 4 or 5, so there was some security in that to just open up. I recall the very first meeting that we had, just in the group. It's very hard for me to sort of talk outside to people about what's occurred, and I thought I have to take a leap of faith, and I did.
Yeah.
And I just broke into tears. I was, but it just felt safe. But it was still very frightening, I have to say that, not knowing what was going to come.
That's right, and I think many people will be thinking, oh, I'm pretty nervous about sharing in a group, and yet there are ways to create that safety where people can really address pieces.
Yeah. I felt that if I didn't, I'm not serving myself. That's what it was all about. I'm here for a purpose. If I'm going to do it, I have to go all the way.
And I think that's a key ingredient, and probably, Toni, you would agree that somebody is really willing to step forward. That's very important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think you wanted a change.
Oh, I know I did.
So badly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's great to hear that you can want to change badly and still be scared to death.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they can go together, and that there's a way to get through that.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got a bridge that's on rope, but you don't know how securely it's tied on the other end. Do you know what I mean?
That's
it's just
That's right.
And it's swaying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my analogy to that, really. Yeah.
So what happened? How was it when you got to the other side of that bridge?
Well, it's taken, that was at the end of October, November, and it's been a process. It's not just like that day. I mean, I really couldn't say at the end of the weekend, I went, oh, yay, it's all done, you know, like, and as you addressed, and all of you, you know, through the weekend, that it's going to take time. And it's, at the very beginning, I'm like, okay, 24 hours, what happened? No, not much, 48, and then stopped doing that, and then did a bit of journaling and things of that nature. So I really couldn't put a definite time because there's been lots of different transitions.
For sure.
For sure. Yeah. And they keep evolving.
So what would you say now that you've had some time, some months, to sort of see the integration taking place, it's settling, what shifts have you noticed in yourself?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many. I'm not frightened. And then I'm not frightened.
Wow.
And then when I do feel fear, I sit back and I analyze it. And then it's like, okay, in the weekend, the coping skills, and that was a big one. We've done all these things, and we keep going back to the same coping skill, but nothing changes, like, duh. But I don't know what is the next road, where's the other avenue. So that, I'm not even sure where I was on this one, right? What were we talking about? I'm sorry.
Just the changes that you've noticed.
Right, okay, so the changes,
Even when you get a bit scared, it sounds like...
Yeah, I can just calm myself. Breathing techniques, I do that. I just stop and breathe, and I think of things that you and I have discussed, and how to deal with issues, and boundaries, that's a big one. And I'm still in the learning process of that. I don't think I ever really had boundaries that I was able to honor within myself, and I feel I'm allowed to. I allow myself to. I'm not looking for that from someone else. I'm doing that from within. Yeah. Lots of different things.
Well, in my experience of being with you is that you'll be talking about something, and then you'll oftentimes refer back to, I remember this in the weekend. And so you keep tying back either to something that we've done in a session, or you'll tie it back to something in the weekend.
Yeah.
So, it's like watching that integration continue to take place over time and over time and over time. And the other thing I wanted to say too is that when I saw you the first time after the you were a mess.
Oh yeah.
It looked like you weren't sure it had really worked.
Oh yeah.
And you were still feeling pretty stuck, and in quite a lot of upset, and so it wasn't immediate by any means.
No.
In fact, it almost felt like a step back.
Yes.
Because and I think that's part of the disappointment. If you feel like you've gone into something and then it doesn't feel like it worked the way you hoped it was going to be, there's some disappointment. So so it had that feeling, and then slowly,
it's like a wave.
Yes.
That builds.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry, no, go ahead.
I think that's one of the pieces that I really appreciate you highlighting, because it's so important for people not to hold this out as an instantaneous thing.
No. Yeah.
And also to acknowledge the work you've done before attending the weekend. All of that plays a part. But integration does take time. And the wave is a beautiful metaphor. What were you going to say about that?
I was going to say, I think it's important for people to know going into a weekend session during that, like, where they're residing is a really key factor. Where I was living at the time was not good. And I wasn't, what I need, and I think most people would feel this way, is when the day is over, you need quiet time. I need quiet time. Time to reflect. Suck it in, feel it, think it, whatever. And I was in a situation where I couldn't do that, and it was exacerbated and made it worse. So I think that's part of where there was that push and pull, that it was just, I just felt angry with where I was, and I wanted to just, can I go to a hotel, anywhere, just to be alone?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's really critical for people. And it's not that you need to be alone, but in a place that's comfortable.
Yeah, thank you. And so I'm just going to come back to the changes. Toni, what do you see that's different in terms of Deb? How would you articulate it if you were...
Well, I was
frame
thinking
it.
of the term ready, fire, aim.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would see in Deb. I mean, it just seems like you are so unstuck, and you're just going for it, and then you aim, you know. But you're just continuing to say yes. You're continuing to go for it, and you know, on all kinds of levels in your business and your home environment, and you know, all kinds of levels. And you know, it was like somehow you really did free yourself to just go for it, and then figure it out as you go along.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Great.
Yes, fascinating.
Deb,
It's marvelous.
yeah.
It's marvelous.
So what would your words be to capture how it feels now to live from this
Oh my gosh,
place?
I feel like I'm finally living. To the true sense. Seriously, I mean, I'm 53 and I'm going, geez, what the hell? Yeah, it's like I've been just sort of, boy, you know, like a volcano going and just like this and going and not knowing where, you know, I could blow, but it doesn't, it has no value. Once it simmers, it starts to percolate again. Whereas now it's, I have somewhere, I have a vision. I have lots of visions, and I'm actually making the strides to get there. And it's really wonderful. I'm comfortable in my skin.
Yeah, I can
It's so
really
lovely,
feel
yeah.
how relaxed and comfortable.
Yes. Yeah, I feel alive. I feel like I have purpose and hope. And one of the big things I know is if I ran into an issue, let's say that I didn't agree with, and it was like, you know, that right or wrong. I try it, and I've gotten pretty good at it. At just pull back, look at the flexibilities, because we went through that, and listening more and understanding. And I don't necessarily have to agree. That's what makes us unique and different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like keep the fire, keep the heat down. Yeah, don't need to have it. Yeah, get angry.
And a lot of people would really describe that as, you know, that calmness, that ease, the peace. So you look at something, it comes up, and yet it doesn't take you out.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm sensing in how
Yes.
you're describing it.
Yeah. And another side to it would be if running into an obstacle, whether it's in business or personal, before it would have just stopped me. I've hit the wall. That's it. Okay, give up. Now what? Whereas now I look at it. Okay, it's an opportunity to learn. Go back, sit down, and look at what other avenues can be taken. What other roads? What's the goal?
So it really sounds like you've shifted your whole way of looking at life.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
And it's so much fun as,
Oh, it is.
as a therapist to work with you.
I am. I'm
You
having
know.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, not stupid fun, good fun. Well, no, I'm having some stupid fun too.
Well, that is a
Yes.
great note to end this, because really
Yes.
that's what it's about, the joy,
Yes.
you know, the fun, the passion,
Uh-huh.
all of that being engaged. And
Yeah.
then whatever you're dealing with,
Yes.
you can deal with.
Another thing I would say, going back to the weekend, is Toni, working with Toni has just been marvelous. I've worked with other therapists, and okay, right? But having, the credentials and having gone through the process of this weekend and understanding what it's about, I think that's also very critical to assisting, a client, an individual going forward. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's delightful to
Thank
hear
you.
from you and from you, Toni. And I know that your words will inspire people that feel that nervousness, feel maybe it's too scary, and yet if they're willing to step up to the plate, I hear
Yes.
you saying,
Do it.
do it.
It's
So
worth
worth
it.
it. That wasn't rehearsed.
Not rehearsed at all.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
both of you.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.